Hi there, dear friends, and welcome to my channel. Welcome to process video 220, and this is the companion page from 219. Like I said in the last video, that when I have a lot of photos, especially with events, I try to break it down because, sometimes you just can't fit all of them in a two-page spread. So this is going to be the double-page spread, and this is going to be the Sunday events for last Easter. So if you watched the previous video, you know that I focused on the coloring of eggs, and I was able to fit 5 photos for that. And then this one will have the chunk or the rest of the photos. And I've already printed my journaling for both layouts. I just did kind of a paragraph form, and so I cut the Saturday part, and then this will be the Sunday part. So basically, this should go fairly, well, not fairly fast, but it should go fairly easy because I have the main components of the layout, especially the pictures and the journaling. And then also I'm using the same pattern paper pack that I used for the last one. And I think that that's good too if you have like companion layouts, is that you can use the same products with them so that they can coordinate. Not necessarily that they're the same, because as you can see, this is a double page and the other one was a single page, but at least they coordinate. And if you know me, you know that I like to have a little border on the outside of my layout. And because I am using a pattern paper, that I decided to do just kind of a strip to go around it instead of cutting that and then backing that up with a cardstock. I do also do the cardstock one, but I think this one would look good. And I don't know if you noticed, but the pattern paper that I'm using has small dots, and the pattern paper that I used in process video 219 also has dots, but bigger ones. I think that's another thing that you can do, is to coordinate the background, but not necessarily the same. And I'm just glad that I was able to have or find 2 sheets of this pattern paper, because I think that's the hard part about double page layout sometimes, is you have only a single sheet of a pattern paper, but you have to make that go across 2 pages. I'm just trying to adhere all of the pieces. Now, this particular paper pad, it had the hole in the center, and when I cut it into a 12-inch square, some of that hole is still showing, but that was another reason why I wanted to do kind of a mitered or a little frame on the outside, so I can cover that little piece of that hole, and so nobody will know that there's that little piece of hole there. So I hope that you guys are doing okay under these circumstances. I know that scrapbooking has become my escape from all of the stress and all of the worries that this new normal that we have has provided for us. I do pray for all of you guys. I hope that you guys are staying healthy and well. I personally do not have anyone in my family that has contracted the virus, thank goodness. But it seems like the numbers are growing, and so I just hope that you guys are well. So let's go back to the layout. Now, I have a ton of photos here, and when I started this, I didn't have any idea of the design in mind. I feel like I go through kind of the basic, or I have a comfort zone as far as the design, and I kind of wanted to do something different, not necessarily like totally different from what I'm used to, but just kind of not putting them all in the center of a layout, because that's what I usually do. Either I put them in a center vertically or horizontally, but this time I think I'm going to do kind of a bottom heavy type layout, and then do all of my decorations on the top. I also had a scrapbook generation crop challenge in mind when I was making this, and the challenge was to focus on a certain shape and make that as the main design of the layout. Now it says it doesn't matter what kind of shape that you use as long as that's the main part. And so I thought that I would use some circles. I could have used some ovals to kind of represent the eggs, but I don't know. I like circles better. I feel like the uniformity of the shape looks better in my eye. And so I decided that I'm going to put the I had more no, sorry, I have more horizontal photos for this layout, and so I decided to pull out most of the horizontal and put them on the bottom, and then I was going to put two of the other horizontal on the top, but then it wouldn't match my vertical because they're 4 inches tall versus 3 inches tall. So I decided to crop them and make them 3 by 3 so that they will all be uniform in size. And I will cut some of them. Like if you see the top photo of my son kind of trying to grab the eggs during the egg hunt, I will cut that piece out, but I'm going to make sure that I don't cut his head off or, like cut him right smack in the center. I will just cut a little piece of that so that will that image will overflow onto the right side. And now because I do have the pictures on the bottom, I needed a little border to go kind of to see the difference, blah, blah, blah. The difference between the pictures and then where I'm going to start layering the circles. Now, again, I'm going to do a circle and I wanted to do them in different sizes. So I'm going to grab my trusted nesting die from My Favorite Things. This is my favorite circle die. I have other nesting dies. I have a stitch die that I got from Amazon. I also have a stitch die that I think it's from Lawn Fawn, but this is my favorite because the sizes of the circle are just small enough that the spaces in between them are not so far apart. And then here's another thing that you can do with scraps. Because I have been using this specific paper pad this is my second layout in a row. I have used this in the past, but this is my second layout in a row. I have a few more pieces that's kind of scraps. And so this is another good thing for you to do. Now I'm pointing here that for some reason when I made my layouts, they didn't match. So I don't know why, but as you can see, the top border is a little bit on the right side is a little bit lower than the bottom one, but I wanted it to match the photo because that's like the more important thing, because if that's kind of crooked, you can tell that it's been cut. So I'm just going to be okay with the top and the bottom not centered as long as my photo is centered. However, I do know that I will be putting a border there, so that will kind of hide it as well. So that's another thing. If you kind of are worried that your photos are not going to match from left to right of your double page layout, put a border on there so it will cover the seam up and you won't kind of notice it. I don't know, but in the end, those little details don't matter. I mean, it matters to us as creators, but once it's all in a scrapbook, it's really not going to matter. So I just cut a few of these papers. I didn't have kind of a idea in mind where it's going to go. I just know that, you can't have the same pattern close together. And I was also trying to make sure that, like, if I have big patterned circles, that they are kind of close to ones that had smaller patterns. I didn't want them like big patterns all in the same vicinity, if that makes any sense. Now, I really still wanted to incorporate this multicolored stripe paper. I feel like that incorporates all of the colors in the layout, especially with the different circles. And so I cut out a 1/4-inch strip, and then that's going to go there. And then I felt like that red circle in the center needed to go across the border as well. Now, when I was adhering everything, I did cut them out I cut the photos out in 3-inch width, but for some reason there's this one 3 by 3 photo that was just slightly smaller. Like if I adhere that next to the photos, there will be a little gap. So to cover up that gap, I matted that photo with a purple pattern paper. And so that's gonna be my focal photo. Now, when I laid all of my pattern paper, I noticed that I forgot that I had to put this big chunk of journaling on there. And so I just added that. I did round the corners of the top just so that it will coordinate with the roundness of the circles. And then I'm going to put all of my circles around it. Now, of course, this would make it that I have less circles on the right side, but that's totally fine. I wanted to make sure that I have room for that journaling because that's an important part of my layout. So again, this is just a layout about our Easter event, and this is kind of a yearly thing that we have. So it's hard for me sometimes to document these kinds of layouts because they happen every single year. But my husband always reminds me that every year is a little bit different because the kids are growing up, and so some of their likes and dislikes are different, and also because sometimes we're in a different circumstances in our lives. I remember when there were years where we were kind of short in money, and so we had very limited things that we put on the table, or we have very limited things that we put on their baskets. So this also shows kind of the progression of not only the size of our family or the ages of our children, but also the circumstances of our lives. So that's something that that's something that I focus on when I write my journaling. And what else do I have to say here? And I want to know, what is your favorite thing about Easter or about spring? What is the one thing in your family that when you talk about spring, that is one thing that you document on a regular basis, on an annual basis? What is something? And you can write that down in the description box below. And I'm kind of curious what it is in your family that you most that you traditionally celebrate in the springtime. And so that's basically my layout. I will be struggling with figuring out the title. So again, I forgot to make room for my journaling, but I also forgot to make room for my title. So at this point, I don't know where my title's going to be, but I think that because I have filled up the bottom with the photos and then the circles, I'm going to have to find a spot in the left side of the photo. And I feel like that's going to be a good way also to balance the journaling on the right side. But right now, I'm going to fill in the left side with the border so I can adhere that photo. I decided not to adhere the photo right away because I wanted that to kind of be on the foreground against my papers. And as you can see, I have this kind of string on the bottom over by my thigh, and that's because I had my earbuds, because I was actually listening, or I was watching the Ali Edwards Day in the Life class. I signed up for that. It was being offered free, I think, in the middle of March. That was kind of one of our ways to, help out with us being all indoors. And so she offered her, I think it was 2015 when she had the class, the Day in the Life class online. She was offering it online, and so I grabbed it, and there was a lot of things that I learned from her. I really love Ali Edwards. This is not sponsored. I just remember that that's what I was listening to. I just like her perspective about memory keeping and documenting. And so if you haven't checked her out, make sure that you check her out, and I'll make sure to link her website in the description box below, because even if you don't do her style, because I don't do her style as much, but I just like her perspective on documenting. And so now that I have that, I I still try to like fill in some of these circles because I do have some more circles there. And so I trying to fill that in, and I'm just using my ATG gun. And now I got to figure out where I'm going to put my title. And again, I think the only place or the best bet that I have would be on the left. And of course, that's going to cover up my little circles on the left side, but that's totally fine. Now I found this scrap piece of paper, white cardstock, and that's going to be where I'm going to house my title. And then I'm just kind of looking, okay, so what kind of title should I put in here? And so far, I don't have any idea, but I'm gonna just kind of move around. I do want to add some stickers here and there, and so I'm gonna do that. And then while I kind of stew over or think over my title. So this is kind of like a normal thing for me right now is to add strips of words and phrases to my photos. I feel like that's just adding a little bit more design to my layout without taking too much from the layout itself. So I have to say that my favorite part of Easter traditions are the Easter egg hunt. I feel like, we spend so much time filling in the eggs, coloring the eggs, and then even hiding them. So my job is to oversee the coloring of the eggs and also filling in the candies in the plastic eggs. But then my husband's job is to hide it. That's kind of, we're a tag team in that way. And so that's what we do. And I just have to say, it's just my favorite part is it takes a few, a while. I don't want to say a few hours because it really doesn't take that much, but it takes a while to do all the prep. But the kids, it just takes them like 10 minutes to find all of the eggs. And so I just think that that's kind of the funny part is that we spend all this time doing all the prep work, and it's gone in a matter of minutes. So that's kind of like my favorite part of it. And I just love how the kids really go crazy on there. Okay, so now I have decided to go with family traditions for our title, and that's how it's going to be. Now, I did do two letter stickers for that. I did a thickers chipboard for the traditions, and then I did an American Crafts kind of flourish type of word or letter rather for the family. Now that family sticker, it was kind of, the stickiness was kind of coming out or not strong anymore, and so I did run that through my Xyron sticker maker just so that it will have some more adhesive on the back. And that's going to be my layout. I will have some still shots at the end. If you have any questions, make sure that you leave it in the comment section below, and if you like these videos, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing, and I will catch you guys another day. Bye.